computer and I decided to write my paper on the effects of misinformation in transgender healthcare for minors. Topic overview. A major part of my paper involved explaining what puberty blockers actually are. Many public discussions in media describe them as experimental and dangerous, but they have been used medically for decades. Understanding their medical history is important because many public claims ignore this context. Puberty blockers are a form of medication used to treat precocious puberty in adolescents, and since the 1990s it has started to be used as a form of gender-affirming care for trans individuals with dysphoria. Puberty blockers have been proven as very beneficial to the mental health of trans teens who experience dysphoria, as it can prevent the irreversible changes of puberty that would increase those symptoms and cause mental and physical discomfort. The central problem that I examined was how misinformation about puberty blockers influence public opinion and legislation, furthermore impacting the lives of trans people trying to access this healthcare. I wanted to understand whether political arguments against puberty blockers were supported by medical evidence, and how these arguments affect the youth seeking the healthcare. Scientifically proven by medical professionals that allowing trans youth to access the puberty blockers and healthcare that they need significantly increases the quality of life, such as mental health, physical health, suicidal ideation, and contribution to society. It's been further shown that in states where legislators intend to ban the use of puberty blockers for dysphoria, suicide rates significantly increase, representing how important trans healthcare is to United States citizens all around. I myself am a trans person, and I grew up in a household that was very against the use of any form of healthcare for trans people with the intention to transition or suppress puberty. I have a personal connection to this issue as it resonates with me, and I wished that growing up I had been able to use this option. I believed that misinformation influenced public attitudes towards transgender healthcare, and because of my personal experience growing up, I was interested in how these narratives developed and what the impact was overall. When it comes to this topic's opposing views, I believe that misinformation, as well as a general lack of information, contributes greatly to why people believe that puberty blockers are harmful for teens. If one really took the time to sit down and understand how they are reversible and how beneficial they are to youth, that perspectives might change and these laws trying to ban the healthcare would significantly decrease. Upon observing and learning more about the opposing views, my overall position on this general issue did not change. My research helped me better understand why some people support these restrictions, such as influence within other countries and how they choose to approach this issue, and why people might believe this is harmful, as it can cause issues in bone density growth, which is something that can be prevented with frequent medical checkups and supplements. I learned that many concerns focus on uncertainty surrounding the long-term outcomes, and getting to understand the concerns made my arguments stronger and more balanced. A few more arguments from the opposing perspectives include the limited long-term research that is available on the topic of puberty blockers for adolescents. It's not something that has been studied in great detail, as it is a medical topic surrounding a minority group which does not get focused on frequently. I mentioned the concerns about bone density in the last slide, and another one involves the concerns of adolescent decision-making, as choosing to go on puberty blockers can be a big decision for a family to make, but everybody is involved, including medical professionals who know best and are able to monitor the outcomes and how the medication is influencing the patient's body. Also mentioned policy changes in different countries such as Sweden and Finland, who do have more strict policies regarding the use of puberty blockers for treating gender dysphoria. In the United States, where everyone is intended to be considered as equals, there's a lot of controversy around the concept of transgender healthcare. I think it's important to note that if you are using puberty blockers to suppress puberty with the intention of treating gender dysphoria, if you're going to start hormones to transition, whether that is estrogen or testosterone, all of these are life-saving care for American citizens who deserve the same amount of health care and treatment as a cisgender person would. As I've mentioned before, the outcomes of allowing trans people to use the healthcare that they need to live their lives to the fullest significantly reduces anxiety, depression, and suicidal ideation and improves the quality of life for everybody involved. Initial thesis and thesis development. The initial thesis that I wrote in the beginning of my paper is that the falsification about puberty blockers has significantly influenced gender-affirming care legislation in the United States by distorting scientific understanding, shaping political narratives, and contributing to restrictive policies that limit access to care, ultimately deteriorating the mental health of trans youth. Throughout the execution of my research paper, my thesis remained consistent. I noticed I focused a lot on the topic of puberty blockers and what they are, versus primarily focusing solely on the deterioration of the mental health of transgender youth. I moved from a general claim about misinformation to a more detailed argument connecting the misinformation, legislation, and mental health outcomes. While I was writing my paper, like I said, I've focused a lot on the topic of puberty blockers, how they have developed throughout the years, how the uses of them have been changed and moved towards a gender-affirming form of healthcare, and moved more away from the gloomy topic of the suicide rates of minors. My research suggests that the uncertainty and lack of information overall on puberty blockers should not automatically be treated like danger. Instead, policies should consider both the risks and benefits identified in the available research. Puberty blockers have been studied for decades in medical settings. Research shows mental health benefits for transgender youth experiencing gender dysphoria. Potential risks are recognized by medical professionals and monitored through the supervision of them, with frequent check-ins, and evidence-based healthcare should guide discussions and policy decisions instead of allowing people who are misinformed about the overall topic to make laws on the bodies of transgender people. Here's a list of references that I used for my paper and that correlated the most with the facts that I was sharing throughout this video.